So a lot of times you think about getting better at switch tray or even learning them. We want to complicate it by understanding our foot position, how much power we should put in the scoop, because we're usually a bit less controlled in that manner. But instead, I want to offer the option to take a few steps back to even a switch push to get better at skating switch. Or if you feel comfortable with that, you go to the ollie, switch flip, switch pop, shove it, and then maybe even just playing around with how you can apply so much more control to your technique instead of just trying the switch tray over and over and over again, where you're forcing it more instead of feeling how you're getting more controlled as you progress with your iterations. So I'm gonna walk you through the process of improving your ability to control every step of the way. So first things first, you might want to take all these steps back to even just a switch push. And I really want you to pay attention to how I'm staying centered over the lead foot. Chances are, when you think about switch pushing, you're not really considering if you feel comfortable staying on one foot, right? And if you can do this, this means you're very comfortable staying centered over that lead foot. It gets a bit difficult once you start to, hinge at the hips, squat a little bit so that you can push and still stay over the center, right? Just doing more switch pushes is going to build that comfort. So that when you go to a trick, whether it's a switch ollie, a switch shove it, or switch flip, you're so much more tuned in or dialed into the concept of staying centered over this lead foot, because you're so comfortable pushing and being centered over the lead foot as well. The lead foot is the foot closest to the direction we're going. So as a regular skater, the lead foot in that sense is my left. When I switch, is the left one. When I switch it up, right, it's going to be the right one, because this is towards the direction I'm going. Few steps back may seem very pointless, but it's really going to help you apply this concept of staying centered over the lead foot very comfortably. And again, we're looking to get comfortable instead of making things, more complicated. Right? And so once you get real comfortable doing switch pushes, you might, I guess you could say, graduate, one of those words, to even a switch ollie. But not just a switch ollie where you're focused on getting the four wheels off the ground, but one where you can really feel yourself centered over this lead foot when you pop and when you land. Many of us tend to gravitate towards the switch ollie where our back is facing the direction we're going. But we want to make sure we're opening up, centered over that lead foot, and engaging the whole ollie. All right, so I'm gonna do, let's say, 10 ollies, 5 going towards that court, 5 coming back. Okay, that's about good. So that's 10. Okay, that's 10. We're not doing switch ollies for the sake of doing switch ollies. We are really thinking about how we can feel that comfort, feel that fluidity, instead of being forced and it feeling so much more complex. And the way we do that is by understanding we gotta apply concepts like opening up, turning the torso towards the direction we're going, so that we can aid ourselves in centering ourselves over the lead foot, which is my right side, in the switch stance. We're gonna run through these fairly quickly because I want to show you how I apply this when I actually go for the switch tray flips, and how it sets me up in such a better position to accomplish switch trays where they don't look so forced. we did switch ollie, switch push, took some steps back. Now we're taking steps forward, and the next step forward would be, well, for me it was the switch flip, but then even a switch pop shove it, backside pop shove it really helps. So we're gonna do 10 going that way and this way, and as we apply the same concepts, I'm going to make sure I give myself the breath and patience needed, because this is so much more technical than a ollie, but we still want to feel that same level of comfort that we feel with a switch ollie or even a switch push. So for that reason, we're not going to do 10, we're only going to do 6, because I want to give myself enough time, enough breather in between the attempts where I can really apply what I've been applying in the switch push and the switch ollie. That's 3. The last 3 felt a little rushed, so that gives me the feedback. I might want to slow it down. Instead of trying 6, let me just do 4. You can think about, improving your ability to accomplish the goal with the cadence needed. So the cadence, I guess you can think about it as like a slower cadence where I only do 2 going that way and 2 coming back. This changes depending on how much space you have around the park. Maybe if you just have half of this court, you just try 1 going that way and then 1 coming back. There isn't any rush to get in as much as you can from one side of the park to the other, or from one side of the flat ground you're skating to the other. To give you the idea of how much time you need, is you want to think about, are you breathing hard? Do your muscles feel fatigued? Or do you feel fine, but you're not able to accomplish staying centered? So it has the outputs coming out like if it's forced, right? If any of those 3 things, shortness of breath, fatigue of the muscles, or the output, which is a very crappy trick, is as a result of your iterations, then you might want to take a step back, slow down the cadence, and understand you need to give yourself time in between the attempts. I'm gonna give myself more time. We're only going to do 2 going that way and 2 coming back, so you can go for it. That felt good. Those felt good. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't have those tricks. I have them, but like I said, it's still important to give yourself the time needed. It doesn't mean you're gonna land them. It just means you're building upon that self-awareness and getting a step closer to being comfortable with the trick you are at. Don't feel rushed to go to the next step, per se, but understand you want to prioritize comfort regardless of what step you're at. Okay, and there's also, just because we're going from a switch push to a switch tray, it doesn't mean you can't go back and forth depending on how you feel that day. Let how you're feeling in that exact moment you're attempting to get better at a trick dictate what step you revisit or what step you pass. You kind of just review real quickly and then move on. Some days you can go to the park and practice the trick itself. Other days you might need to revisit the lessons that a switch push or even a switch ollie can provide, so that you are prioritizing comfort and you feel better as you're getting better with a switch tray. So we did switch shoves, those were solid. Now I'm gonna do 2 switch flips, right? 1 going that way, 1 coming back this way. Toes hanging out. Okay. So the intention there was to slow it down just because I wanted to make sure I have full control of the flick instead of just trying to rush it and land it in any manner I can get it. I really want to feel in control from the pop or from the roll in to the roll away, which is why I'm only doing one going that way and one coming back. So we're gonna go for it again and see if I can land both of them. Not the best. So the roll in for the second one definitely had me, scattered for a bit, but aside from that, I felt a little more in control. We're gonna run it back one more time. Regardless of the result, we will move on. So they felt like I was able to snap and flick good, but I lost some engagement towards the end, which is fine. So in this scenario, I might just spend a little more time on switch flips. Actually, I'll just do a few here. Let me just do some right here. You can stay there. I want to get a good one. Okay, not a good one yet. It still doesn't feel as comfortable as it could. And it's not about being perfect. It's just about feeling like I'm making an improvement, a progress. You want to make sure you're careful not to rush yourself or try to force that comfort, because comfort comes from fluidity, not force. So. Oh, that one kind of felt cool the way it flicked. And just to revisit fluidity, fluidity is accomplished with time, with giving yourself, grace in a sense, giving yourself time and making sure you're not tense as you're gonna approach or as you're going to attempt the trick. So with all those things in mind, I'm just resetting. In here so that I can give myself time and space. Oh, I landed on the back foot. It's so easy to want to force things and rush yourself, but you got to make sure you're patient. You practice patience, because patience is going to lead to that comfort. It's going to lead you a bit more friendlier to that comfort where we want to feel. I really thought that was it. Like, it's good, but then the land kind of is throwing me off. Like I said, it's not about being perfect, but it's about feeling the improvement with comfort in mind. Okay, so that one was not perfect, but it was definitely very much more comfortable than any of the other ones. And so we're gonna move on to the switch tray flip. Now I'm pretty much, you can say, warmed up. I feel like I'm ready to do the switch tray flips. Nothing was nagging too much, and I was able to take those lessons as a review instead of actually studying those lessons. So we're gonna do one switch tray. Again, I want to give myself time, be patient, not allow for so much tension to be present, because it is already a trick that can easily feel very uncomfortable if I try to rush the process and make it more complex than it needs to be. So in order to prioritize comfort, I want to give myself patience, a breather, and make sure instead of thinking about where my feet need to be, I want to feel that I want to feel the stability that comes from staying centered over that lead foot, and make sure all I need to do is go for this scoop and flick that happens at the very same time. Okay. All right, so I went too fast. I definitely rushed myself. But that was because I was trying to catch up to the camera. Learn a lesson. Make sure you're only focused on yourself. Don't be focused on other factors. And if something is causing you to focus on other factors, you want to make sure that you're either getting outside of, going to another environment that's going to allow you to be intrinsically focused instead of focusing on too many factors that are going to overwhelm you. This can easily be overwhelming if I start to pay attention to him. Instead, I just need to think about what I'm doing. So here, let me go first and you stay behind, because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that was actually much better. I heard the scoop. I felt stable. The landing was, just not it. And so what I want to think about is, can I be a bit more engaged? Do I need to prioritize stability? Can I go a bit faster? Did I pause a bit too much? Was I tense before I paused? All these questions are going to help me in my practice to feel more comfort. So that one, I felt like I leaned a bit too far in before I went for the switch tray. I want to make sure I jump straight up and I'm centered over that lead foot instead of centering myself to the bolt or to the nose. That's going to have me leaning forward either prematurely or jump forward as I go for the pop. Okay, so that one, my front foot wasn't holding the tension needed, and I rushed it without realizing it. So what you want to do in these situations is be super, I don't want to say fixated, but be a bit more intentional about taking that breather. So giving yourself time. It's so easy to fool yourself into thinking you're giving yourself time, but as you go on and skate more or go further into the session, you're going to naturally fatigue a bit more. Therefore, a bit more time in between can be super helpful. So here we go. It didn't feel like I was engaged, so we're gonna go for it again. Okay, so two things could be happening right now. I'm going faster than I can control, and at a speed where I can't control, or I'm fatiguing. So again, just to mention it once more, you want to give yourself time, be a bit more intentional about the breather, because that's going to help so much. Make sure you're not tensing up so much. There we go. So always room for improvement, but like I said, we're not seeking perfection. We are seeking a bit more comfort from where we started. So definitely from where we started, that was so much better. And now we're setting the intention to improve upon that. I do my best at the moment to very lightly, very loosely analyze what I did there, so that I can take it and apply it to the next attempts. There, I gave myself more time. Usually I won't be talking, so I might try it sooner, and it might be okay because I won't be using energy on this. But for now, because I am using some energy to speak to the camera, I gotta be conscious of that so that I don't set myself up for failure and force things, make it more complex than it needs to be. Instead, prioritize comfort. Think about what factors are helping you, what wouldn't help you, such as rushing it and making sure you're loosened up throughout the temp. So the goal for the video is to do 10, and so we're at 1. Doesn't mean all 10 need to be perfect. I'm gonna go up to 5, so 4 more, and then I'm gonna speak a bit more about what I'm feeling and how how the process of getting comfortable is going for me. Give yourself time, guys. That one felt good. I really loosened up. My toes were hanging out a lot. So something that you can think about so that you're prioritizing comfort is think about only utilizing your forefoot. So if you're on your heels or pressurizing, applying that tension, or that force through the heels, you might want to slightly adjust yourself to make sure you're prioritizing forefoot engagement. On top of that, landing where your toes are inside the board or over the board. Oh. All right, got 2 more. That's kind of cool. Fatigue. I felt my legs get so much heavier when I failed that switch tray flip. Need to give myself a little more time. Some breaths, shake off the tension. If you feel it, the nerves, you know, you can do your best to fight off fatigue, but it's going to settle in. So understanding a little bit of time can help. Okay. I need 2 more, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1 more. I actually felt like the ability to open up got so much more comfortable as I did these 5 switch tray flips. So that's another, you know, reference point you can think about it as to apply to the next 5 that I want to do. Some things I felt that kind of allowed me to process that comfort was 1, opening up, feeling like it was okay to take my eyesight off of the board and kind of slightly gaze to the direction I'm going. That was 1. 2 was making sure that before I go for the switch tray here, I make sure I give myself time to drop down, release that tension, and then go for the switch tray instead of dropping down and real quickly trying to make it complicated and force that switch tray flip, right? So give yourself time. That's 2. Number 3 is making sure that when I go for the snap and flick, I'm not trying to force that either, because it's as you fatigue or as you try these tricks and naturally build some frustration, it's so easy to kind of like give it all you got, but it's important you're being efficient with your movement instead of trying to be very forceful, right? Again, we want to prioritize fluidity, not forcefulness. We want to prioritize comfort, not complexity. Oh my God, that felt good. Like I felt like I'm actually really hyped on that one. I feel like that one could have been thrown down a set of stairs. I rushed it. I got too excited. So it's important you have that awareness on your fatigue levels and you know, attempt these tricks accordingly. So I did 3, 2 more. Crazy. I think my stance was a bit too narrow, and I also I rushed the attempt. Okay. That's 3 or 4?
The 4?
4. Okay, so it's important when you're prioritizing control, comfort, or I would say when you're prioritizing feeling comfortable in order to build that control with a certain trick, you want to make sure as you go down for the trick, you're not feeling like your muscles are fighting to stay up, but instead you can fluidly go down here and go up, right? If you go down and you're like, oh my God, you can barely bring yourself up, you're going to be setting yourself into a state of tension where when you go for the flick, that tension is releasing with a more forceful motion instead of a fluid motion that we are looking for. So again, fluidity, not force. In a way, relaxation, not tension. Comfort, not complexity. Also, we can think about control, not complexity. So here we go. That's so cool. I'm hyped on. And again, just because some days may work better than others, it doesn't mean you are going backwards. It just means you may need to revisit the other tricks. Okay, don't allow not being able to reach the goal in the time frame you want to or prefer discourage you from applying yourself to the process that is needed, right? That process being giving yourself that patience, that grace, and applying factors like opening up, staying centered, being engaged, and listening, feeling how listening to your body, building that awareness. You gotta feel this awareness, feel this comfort, and your progression towards that. So we need one more. I'm going to attempt this with a bit more speed because the confidence meter got built, and I feel like I'm in a position to go a bit faster. Not too fast, too much, but just enough where it's a challenge. So again, if you saw the toes were hanging off on my back foot, again, there's always room for improvement, but it doesn't mean that we didn't make the progress in getting a bit more comfort in having these switch trays a bit more controlled. If you enjoyed this video and got something out of how you go from feeling like a trick is complicated and understanding how to get a bit more comfortable with it, or even having it a little bit more controlled, you might want to check out the other videos. I go on live where I talk about how to apply these concepts a bit more efficiently. If you're interested in if you're interested in coaching or lessons, hit me up at profe.carlos on Instagram. We can talk about what that would look like for you. Other than that, till the next time and the next video. Peace out.